What if everything you've been told about developing mental toughness is not just wrong, but actually keeping you trapped in cycles of self-doubt and weakness? In the next few minutes, I'm going to share something that might sound impossible at first, but by the end, you'll understand why your perceived weaknesses might actually be your greatest source of untapped warrior strength. Most people think a warrior mindset means becoming harder, more aggressive, more resistant to pain. They believe it's about building thicker skin and pushing through everything with brute force. But true warriors throughout history knew something completely different. They understood that real strength doesn't come from hardening yourself against the world, but from developing an unshakable inner foundation that remains calm and centered regardless of external chaos. The warriors who changed history, from ancient samurai to modern Navy SEALs, all discovered the same profound truth. The strongest fortress is not built from stone and steel, but from clarity of purpose and deep inner knowing. When you truly understand this principle, everything about how you approach challenges transforms completely. Have you noticed how the people who seem to effortlessly handle life's biggest challenges never appear to be struggling or forcing their way through? There's something happening beneath the surface that most of us miss because we're focused on looking tough and appearing strong to others. Picture this. You're facing a major setback at work. Your project failed, your boss is disappointed, and everyone's looking at you for answers. In that moment, most people do one of two things. They either crumble under the pressure, feeling overwhelmed and defeated, or they put on a tough exterior, gritting their teeth and pushing forward with rigid determination. Both responses feel natural, but both miss something crucial. The person with a true warrior mindset does something completely different. They stand in that storm of uncertainty and chaos, but instead of fighting against it or being swept away by it, they find their center. They breathe deeply, acknowledge the reality without being consumed by it, and respond from a place of inner strength rather than reactive emotion. This isn't about being emotionless or uncaring. It's about developing such a strong foundation within yourself that external circumstances can't shake your essential core. Think of a mighty oak tree during a hurricane. The branches may bend and sway dramatically, but the roots run so deep that the tree itself remains standing. The reason most approaches to building mental toughness fail is that they focus on the branches instead of the roots. We try to make ourselves harder on the surface while leaving our foundation weak and unstable. We learn techniques for pushing through pain, but we never develop the deep inner knowing that makes us truly unshakable. Here's what's actually happening. When we try to force ourselves to be tough, we create internal resistance. Part of us is pushing forward while another part is pulling back, creating exhaustion and inner conflict. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. You might move forward, but it's inefficient, and eventually something breaks down.
The deeper root cause of this struggle is that we've misunderstood what strength actually is. We've been conditioned to believe that strength means never showing vulnerability, never asking for help, and always having all the answers. But this creates a brittle kind of toughness that shatters under real pressure. True warriors understand that real strength is like water flowing around rocks in a river. Water doesn't break the rocks through force. It persistently flows around obstacles, finding the natural path forward. Over time, that gentle persistence can carve through mountains. This is the kind of strength that endures, that actually grows stronger through challenge rather than being depleted by it. When you observe nature, you see this principle everywhere. The tallest trees are not rigid, they bend with strong winds. The most resilient animals are not the most aggressive, they're the ones most adaptable to changing conditions. Mountains don't resist earthquakes, they absorb the energy and remain standing through flexibility at their foundation. What would change in your life if you could face any challenge with this kind of natural, flowing strength? What if criticism couldn't shake you because your self-worth comes from within? What if failure couldn't defeat you because you understand it as valuable information rather than personal judgment? What if uncertainty couldn't paralyze you because you trust your ability to navigate whatever comes? This understanding creates a bridge from where you are now to where you want to be, from reactive defensiveness to responsive strength. Let me tell you about Marcus, a corporate executive who thought he had developed mental toughness through years of high-pressure business deals and competitive environments. He could handle boardroom conflicts and demanding deadlines without breaking a sweat. He prided himself on never showing weakness and always having the right answers. But when his teenage daughter was diagnosed with a serious illness, all of his carefully constructed toughness crumbled overnight. He found himself paralyzed by fear, overwhelmed by emotions he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years, and completely unprepared for a situation where his usual strategies of control and aggression were not only useless, but harmful. In the hospital waiting room, watching his daughter undergo treatment, Marcus encountered a janitor named Carlos who worked the night shift. Carlos moved through the corridors with a quiet presence that caught Marcus's attention. Despite the atmosphere of crisis and grief, Carlos seemed to carry a deep peace with him. Over several late nights, Marcus began talking with Carlos, learning that this man had faced extraordinary challenges, losing his home to natural disaster, caring for his disabled wife, working multiple jobs to support his family. Yet Carlos approached each day with a strength that didn't come from avoiding difficulty, but from accepting it completely. Carlos shared something that transformed Marcus's understanding. Real strength isn't about being tough enough to break through walls. It's about being wise enough to find the door. He explained how his grandmother had taught him that warriors don't fight reality. They work with it so skillfully that obstacles become stepping stones.
Through these conversations, Marcus began to understand that his previous approach to mental toughness was actually a form of rigidity that made him more fragile, not stronger. He learned to stop fighting his fear about his daughter's illness and instead channel that energy into being fully present with her, advocating effectively with doctors, and supporting his family from a place of love rather than forced control. The shift was profound. Marcus discovered that true warrior strength comes not from hardening your heart, but from opening it so completely that nothing can close it. He learned that real courage isn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to feel it fully while still taking right action. Here's what transforms everything about developing a warrior mindset. True strength is not built through resistance, but through radical acceptance, combined with unwavering commitment to growth. This reveals the fundamental misunderstanding most people have about mental toughness. We think we need to build walls to protect ourselves from pain, disappointment, and challenge. But walls that keep pain out also keep growth, connection, and authentic power from flowing in. Let me tell you about Master Wong, a martial arts teacher who revolutionized how his students understood combat and life. Instead of teaching them to block every attack with force, he taught them something called soft power, the ability to receive an opponent's energy and redirect it so skillfully that the attacker's own force becomes their downfall. One day, a much larger and stronger student challenged Master Wong to demonstrate this principle. The student charged forward with all his might, expecting to overpower the smaller teacher. But instead of meeting force with force, Master Wong stepped slightly to the side, placed one gentle hand on the student's back, and used the attacker's own momentum to send him tumbling harmlessly past. The student was amazed. "How did you do that without using any strength?" Master Wong smiled and replied, "I used all my strength, but not against him. I used my strength to remain centered, to see clearly, and to respond from wisdom rather than fear." This reveals something profound about how mental strength actually works. While most people exhaust themselves fighting against their circumstances, true warriors learn to work with the energy of their situation so skillfully that challenges become sources of power rather than obstacles to overcome. The deeper principle here is that resistance creates suffering, but responsiveness creates mastery. When you resist your circumstances, you create internal tension that depletes your energy and clouds your judgment. When you respond to circumstances with full awareness and acceptance, you maintain your power and clarity. Think of a skilled surfer riding a massive wave. They don't fight against the wave's power, they align themselves with it so perfectly that the ocean's force becomes their vehicle for an extraordinary experience. They remain balanced and responsive, reading the water's energy moment by moment, making subtle adjustments that keep them riding smoothly toward shore. While most people try to force their way through difficulties by sheer willpower, true mastery comes from developing such deep inner stability that you can remain flexible and adaptive in any situation. This doesn't mean being passive or accepting defeat. It means being so grounded in your core strength that you can engage with challenges from a place of centered power rather than reactive desperation. Here's the practical magic of this understanding. When you stop fighting reality and start working with it skillfully, your stress levels drop dramatically while your effectiveness increases exponentially. You find yourself able to handle situations that previously would have overwhelmed you, not because you've become harder, but because you've become wiser. The warrior mindset isn't about becoming invulnerable, it's about becoming so comfortable with vulnerability that nothing can throw you off balance. It's about developing such trust in your ability to navigate whatever comes that uncertainty becomes an adventure rather than a threat. The foundation of all warrior strength begins with developing unshakable self-awareness. This isn't about constant self-analysis or obsessive introspection. It's about cultivating such intimate familiarity with your own thoughts, emotions, and reactions that you can observe them without being controlled by them. Most people are unconsciously driven by their mental and emotional patterns. They react automatically to triggers, make decisions based on fear or desire, and wonder why they keep creating the same results in their lives. A warrior learns to step back from this unconscious reactivity and respond from conscious choice. Start by simply noticing your thoughts without judgment. Throughout the day, catch yourself thinking and observe the quality of your mental activity. Are your thoughts empowering or depleting? Are they focused on solutions or problems? Are they grounded in reality or spinning stories about imaginary futures? Practice recognizing your emotional patterns. Notice what triggers fear, anger, or excitement in you. Observe how different emotions feel in your body. Learn to distinguish between emotions that provide valuable information and emotions that are simply old patterns being triggered by current circumstances. Develop body awareness as a foundation for mental strength. Your body holds tremendous wisdom about what's actually happening in any situation. Learn to read the subtle signals of tension, relaxation, energy, and fatigue. Your body often knows the right decision before your mind figures it out. The key insight here is that you cannot control what you're not aware of. Many people try to develop mental toughness through willpower alone. But willpower without awareness is like trying to steer a ship while blindfolded. You might eventually reach some destination, but it won't be where you intended to go. Create daily practices that deepen self-awareness. This might be meditation, journaling, mindful movement, or simply taking regular breaks to check in with yourself. The specific practice matters less than the consistency of turning your attention inward with curiosity and acceptance. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate difficult thoughts or emotions. The goal is to develop such stable awareness that you can experience anything without losing your center. A skilled warrior doesn't avoid the storm. They learn to find calm within it. True warrior strength expresses itself through actions that are perfectly aligned with your deepest values and clearest vision. This isn't about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do.
It's about developing such clarity about what matters most that right action feels natural and effortless.
Most people exhaust themselves trying to motivate themselves to do things they think they should do. They rely on discipline and willpower to override their natural inclinations. But this creates internal conflict and eventually leads to burnout or rebellion. A warrior discovers that when actions are truly aligned with their authentic purpose, motivation becomes irrelevant. You don't need to force yourself to breathe, and you don't need to force yourself to act when that action serves your deepest calling. The first step is getting crystal clear about your core values. What principles are so fundamental to who you are that you would never compromise them? What qualities do you want to embody regardless of external circumstances? These aren't values you think you should have. They're the ones that resonate in your bones. Next, develop a vision that inspires you at the cellular level. This isn't just about goals or achievements. It's about the person you're becoming and the impact you want to have in the world. When your vision is truly aligned with your authentic nature, pursuing it feels like coming home to yourself. Practice making decisions from this place of alignment rather than from fear, obligation, or external pressure. Before taking any significant action, pause and ask yourself, does this serve my highest vision? Does this express my deepest values? Am I acting from love or from fear? Learn to distinguish between productive action and busy work. Warriors understand that effectiveness comes from doing the right things, not from doing more things. They focus their energy on actions that create meaningful progress rather than dispersing it across activities that merely create the illusion of productivity. Develop the courage to say no to things that don't align with your path, even when they seem like good opportunities. Every yes to something misaligned is a no to something that could serve your true purpose. Warriors protect their energy and attention like precious resources. When your actions consistently align with your values and vision, you develop an inner confidence that can't be shaken by external circumstances. You know that regardless of outcomes, you're living with integrity and moving in the right direction. The warrior understands that true strength is not built through force, but through patient, consistent cultivation over time. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect for people who want quick results, but it's also what separates temporary toughness from lasting resilience. In our instant gratification culture, we expect transformation to happen quickly. We want to develop mental toughness in 30 days, master new skills over a weekend, and see dramatic changes immediately. But nature doesn't work this way, and neither does authentic development. Consider how an oak tree grows. It doesn't strain to become tall overnight. It simply focuses on what it can do each day, extending its roots a little deeper, growing its trunk a little stronger, reaching its branches a little higher toward the sun. Over decades, this patient daily growth creates something magnificent and nearly indestructible. Developing a warrior mindset follows the same principle. You don't become mentally tough through dramatic gestures or intense weekend workshops. You become strong through small, consistent practices that gradually build your capacity to handle whatever life presents you. The key is focusing on process rather than outcomes. Instead of asking, how quickly can I become tough? Ask, what practices can I commit to that will naturally develop strength over time? Instead of measuring your progress day by day, measure it season by season. Learn to find satisfaction in the cultivation itself rather than only in the results. A true warrior loves the training as much as the victory. They understand that the daily practice of showing up, being present, and doing the work is where real transformation happens. This doesn't mean being passive or accepting mediocrity. It means channeling your ambition into sustainable daily practices rather than sporadic bursts of intense effort. It means understanding that consistency trumps intensity every time. Develop patience with your own learning process. Everyone develops at their own pace, and comparing your progress to others only creates unnecessary suffering. Trust that if you stay committed to your practices, growth is inevitable. When challenges arise, use them as opportunities to practice patience. Instead of wanting the difficulty to end immediately, ask yourself, what is this situation teaching me? How can I use this challenge to develop greater strength and wisdom? The final foundation is learning to express your warrior nature authentically, rather than trying to fit someone else's model of what strength looks like. Many people exhaust themselves trying to imitate warriors they admire instead of discovering their own unique way of being strong. Your authentic warrior expression emerges naturally when the first three foundations are in place. When you have deep self-awareness, take aligned action, and practice patient cultivation, your natural strength begins to shine through without effort or pretense. Some people express strength through quiet confidence and steady presence, others through bold action and courageous leadership, some through compassionate service, and others through creative innovation. There's no single right way to be a warrior. The key is learning to trust your natural gifts and inclinations while continuing to develop areas where you want to grow. Don't try to become someone else's version of strong. Discover what strength looks like when it flows through your unique personality and life circumstances. Practice expressing yourself honestly in challenging situations. Instead of putting on a tough facade, learn to communicate your truth with clarity and confidence. Instead of hiding your vulnerabilities, learn to share them in ways that create connection and inspire others. Develop your natural talents as expressions of warrior energy. If you're naturally analytical, become a warrior through precise thinking and strategic planning. If you're naturally empathetic, become a warrior through compassionate leadership and healing service. If you're naturally creative, become a warrior through innovative problem solving and artistic expression. Let go of trying to impress others with your toughness. True strength doesn't need to prove itself constantly. It simply shows up authentically and does what needs to be done without drama or self-promotion. Remember that your warrior expression will continue evolving throughout your life. What strength looks like at 20 is different from what it looks like at 40 or 60. Stay curious about how your authentic power wants to emerge in each season of your development. When you express your warrior nature authentically, you inspire others not through intimidation, but through example. People sense when someone is genuinely strong and naturally want to discover that same strength within themselves. As these foundations become established in your daily life, you begin to notice that developing a warrior mindset isn't something you do, it's something you become. The practice is gradually transformed from external disciplines into natural expressions of who you are. The integration process happens in layers. First, you develop basic awareness and start making more conscious choices. Then you begin to trust yourself more deeply and take bolder action aligned with your values. Gradually, you develop the patience to stay committed to your growth, regardless of external circumstances. Finally, you learn to express your authentic strength in every area of your life. This transformation doesn't happen in isolation. As you develop genuine inner strength, you naturally attract others who are on similar journeys. You begin to see challenges not as threats to avoid, but as opportunities to practice and demonstrate your growing wisdom. Your relationships deepen because you're no longer trying to protect yourself from vulnerability. Your work becomes more effective because you're operating from clarity rather than fear. Your health improves because you're no longer wearing yourself out fighting reality. Perhaps most importantly, you develop an unshakable sense of your own worth that doesn't depend on external validation or achievement. You know that regardless of what happens in your life, you have the inner resources to handle it with grace and wisdom. The warrior mindset, fully integrated, becomes a way of being that touches every aspect of your existence.
You move through the world with quiet confidence, deep compassion, and absolute commitment to growth. You face challenges not with grim determination, but with curious engagement, knowing that each difficulty contains the seeds of your next level of development. This is the path of the modern warrior, not one who conquers through force, but one who transforms through wisdom. Not one who avoids pain, but one who learns from it. Not one who seeks to dominate others, but one who inspires them to discover their own strength. The journey never ends, but that's its beauty. Every day offers new opportunities to practice these principles, to deepen your understanding, and to express your authentic power more fully. Each challenge becomes a chance to demonstrate how much you've grown and to discover new dimensions of your warrior nature.
When you embody these foundations completely, you realize that developing a warrior mindset was never about becoming someone different. It was about removing everything that wasn't authentically you and allowing your natural strength to emerge. The warrior was always there, waiting patiently beneath the layers of conditioning and fear, ready to step forward when you were ready to recognize and trust what was already yours. This is the ultimate realization. You are not building a warrior mindset from scratch. You are uncovering the warrior that has always lived within you, polishing away the dust and debris until your inner strength shines with its full natural radiance. Every practice, every challenge, every moment of growth is simply revealing more of who you truly are beneath all the stories you've told yourself about limitation and weakness. The warrior's journey is complete not when you've conquered every external challenge, but when you've made peace with the warrior within and learned to express that strength as naturally as breathing. From this place, life becomes not a battle to be won, but a dance to be danced. Not a problem to be solved, but an adventure to be fully experienced.